Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh, the King of terrors, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha, Kodash, and double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel, who may you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, beginning with the 144,000 prophets, and Yahweh, the King of terrors, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, willing, this lesson is edifying. My name is Quanawath, and this is the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. This lesson will be my first installment, Lord's willing, of a series of commentaries that I will make through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord's willing, on a record of dreams a sister had bought and shared with the camp this past Saturday. And Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, bless that sister immensely for doing this, including her charity. And so, without further ado, this is her first dream, which, Lord's willing, I will filter through the Holy Scriptures. I went outside of my home, which was a 3-story apartment building. It was daytime, but the weather outside made it look like it was late evening. It was dark and cloudy, which is synonymous with the times that we are living in, even as I speak. And as we swiftly approach the evils, which means the bad times, Eve mean time, ill means bad, of Jacob's trouble, it will only become a lot more darker. The energy was cold, sad, dead, and empty. Now, why was the energy cold, sad, dead, and empty? Because during those dark and cloudy, dim and lifeless days, iniquity shall abound. And therefore, as a result, the love of many shall wax cold, as the Lord Yahushua had prophesied here in the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity, which iniquity is sin upon sin, and what is sin? 1 John chapter 3, verse 4 tells us that sin is a transgression of the law of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And the wages of sin, which a wage is a payment, is death. And therefore, because iniquity shall abound, which brings death, the love of many shall wax, which means to grow cold. And so the love that we typically see between families and so-called friends and acquaintances and just people in general shall wax cold, shall grow cold during those evils, during those bad times when the energy, when the nature of events, when the times are going to be dark and cloudy and cold and sad and dead and empty. And we are approaching those times on a lot more higher degree. Okay? Because although many things are different in degree, they're not different in kind, because we are living in these times. But as we approach the end, these things will intensify to satisfy biblical prophecy. So it reads on, I wanted to get a ride on an MTA bus, but I was unable to because I did not have the correct currency to ride the bus. Now, why will men be unable to, pardon me, travel on things like buses and trains and things of that nature? Because society will come to a standstill. Bridges are going to be closed. Tunnels are going to be closed. Estates are going to be closed. Tongues are going to be closed. Because there will be martial law. Society will implode. Because we are approaching the time of Jacob's trouble. And additionally, people will not be able to participate in society unless they have the mark of the beast, according to biblical prophecy. So, what is the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is the RFID microchip, also known as the NFC chip implant in Europe, also known as the biochip implant. The word bio means living or alive. Also known as the brain chip implant, i.e. Elon Musk's Neuralink, including others. And so, those who do not take the MOTB in their right hand or in their forehead in front of their brain, when the elites of Esau, Edom, introduce and subsequently mandates it across the globe, will not be able to participate
in society. And that includes being able to utilize public transportation in the form of a bus or a train or even a cab. And in this case, in this sister's particular dream, she wanted to get a ride on an MTA bus, but wasn't able to because she did not have the correct currency to ride the bus. And according to biblical prophecy, we understand that all currency will eventually be transitioned onto and utilized through the MOTB, the RFID microchip, the mark of the beast. Right? So you can clearly see that in this particular dream, a series of events bounced around here and there, right? So now let's read on. As a result, I had to walk. I passed by a project building. Excuse me, kind of jumped ahead a little bit. Let me restart back from the top. As a result, I had to walk instead to get to where I needed to go. Pardon me. I was not sure where I was going along the walk. Well, the Spirit of the Lord was directing her steps where, she had to walk in her dream, for particular reasons, which we'll read on to find out, right? And so it says, I passed by a project building. So as along her walk, she passed by a project building. I was near the area where all the big green metal garbage dumpsters were kept. I saw dead bodies, and we can see that the reason why the Lord had her walk to pass by this particular area in her dream where all the big green metal garbage dumpsters were kept is so that she can see dead bodies, where she says, I saw dead bodies of young women lying near black garbage bags of trash. And there will be many dead bodies of not just young women, but also men, young men, and just children in general, according to biblical prophecy, during the evils of Jacob's trouble. When Esau, Edom, the so-called Caucasian race, will come down through his martial law troops, his UN troops, his Garga troops, having great wrath upon the people, especially upon the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And he will be like a madman, sparing none, with his blessing, which is the sword, which comes in the form of his modern day gun and his technology, and ultimately the ICBM nuclear missiles, which are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. So she said, I saw dead bodies of young women lying near black garbage bags of trash, showing you how the bodies of the dead are going to be like trash, like dung on the earth, just like garbage. And here's a precept, scripture to prove that. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, verse 33. It says, and the slain of the Lord Yahweh
Bahashim Yahushai shall be at that day, even, excited, from one end of the earth, even unto the end of the earth. Meaning that there will be much killing, much slaying by Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Okay, through his sword, who is the wicked, according to Psalm chapter 17, verse 13. Okay, and through the different calamities that the Lord will send as scourges for amendment upon the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. This is the point. They shall be what? Dung upon the ground. So they're going to be like dung upon the ground, like shit. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16 and 4. They shall die of grief. Yes, they shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as what? As dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword. Pardon me. And by famine, and their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven, and for the beasts of the earth. All right, so reading on, it had to be at least 6 of them. It felt like a regular day to me. Well, the reason why it felt like a regular day is because the days that we are approaching, according to biblical prophecy, will be days of evil, bad times. So much so that it will become the norm. And therefore, we will expect to see things like that. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 5, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, an evil, a bad time, and only evil, behold, is come. And that evil will come in the form of many great miseries, pursuant to 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 50. Through the form of Jacob's trouble, pursuant to Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7. A time like none other that has ever happened in history. An end is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come. And with it destruction will come. Verse 25, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace. The people shall seek peace, and there shall be none. And when they're going to be promised peace and safety by their presidents or governors or local leaders or mayors, that is when destruction which cometh will come suddenly upon them, and they shall not escape. Verse 26 of Ezekiel chapter 7, mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priests and counsel from the ancients. And another reason why it will be like a regular day unto us is because the Lord will, at that time, have our minds, have our spirits stabilized, because we would have been expecting those particular times, those evils, because the Lord gave us the inside scoop. Remember what it states here in Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? Even the time of evils. And strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, is his treasure. So the fear of the Lord is an Israelite man's treasure. Okay, beginning with an elect Israelite man. All right. So the elect will be stabilized during the evils ahead. That's why it's going to feel like just a regular day. Okay. Expected this to happen. The Lord said that this was going to happen, and it's happening. So we won't be caught off guard. We won't be surprised, because we'll be stabilized in the mind and in the spirit. Additionally, remember what Yahushua said, in St. Matthew 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So we'll know what to expect and see as a result. So in conclusion, we gonna be good, right? So finishing off, it says, like those conditions were a common thing during that time, right? I was not scared. I accepted it. So that concludes the first dream, right? And with that, I will conclude this lesson. And Lord's willing, it has been edifying. Should the sister come across this lesson, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Brakatah, and Brakathum to you sincere Akwath out there, you sincere sisters. And first and foremost, you brothers of the elect, right? So I'll catch y'all, Lord's willing, in the next one. Shalom.